Do you want me to do the intro?
If you want to.
Heck yeah, I want to do it. We good? Well, hello and welcome to the 9th episode of the Heroes Journal podcast. My name's Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm doing the intro today.
It's really exciting, you know? We like to switch it up a little bit, keep everyone on their toes.
Usually Kyle does it.
So, and I'm just going to go right into what we're going to talk about. So this week, where it's funny because we're actually recording this at a time that we haven't actually announced it yet. But by the time that you see this, we will have announced the thing that we're going to talk about today. So yeah, it's kind of like a fun, like it's weirdly like telling the future. It is kind of weird. You have to kind of have it in your mind that people already know about what we're going to talk about. Right? Yeah. It's like, I'm sure that if there's anyone out there who does like content in a similar way that we do it, there's probably this weird feeling of like having a backlog of like 5 or 6 videos that are already made. Yeah. And having to act like every time a new video is released, you have to act as if that's new to everyone else. Like it's new to you too. But for some people, it's like a month old. I know, like, that's old news. It's a different way to live your life. Yeah. Live in the future. It's like, it's like organized and like thoughtful. So what is the announcement? So what is the thing that we are pretending that we already announced that we're talking about now, that it has been announced? Kickstarter. We're doing a second Kickstarter. Really? We are? Which is crazy. What are we kickstarting? We're kickstarting a new iteration of the Heroes Journal. Like a different color or like? You know, we've done the whole color thing. We've tried new colors and it's been really great and it's awesome to see this world housed in a new color, but we're taking it a step further. Wow, was it like, I hate this. I'm just doing the fake interview. Yeah, right, I know all the details of the project. Right. All right. So it's not a new color and it's not the same journal. Yeah. So what is it? Well, it's kind of the same journal in the sense that we still house all the same productivity tools and tips and tricks and all that stuff in there. The bones are there. But we're telling a new story. Yeah. I think that one of the things that you and I really dreamed about when we came up with this topic, when you came to me with the topic and we talked about it more, was the promise of being able to do different stories. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and we've talked about a lot of different stories, right? Mm-hmm. If you frequent our live streams, I talk about a Miami Vice journal like every time I get a chance. And I shoot it down. And you shoot it down. Shortly after. Right away. But it's something that I think we've made clear as our intentions as we move forward is to make other tropes and stories as we tell in the journal. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the magic of the hero's journey. There's really no use to trying to utilize this storytelling template without, venturing into different kinds of stories. Otherwise it's just like relevant to one storyline. So part of the charm, part of the magic of using this as a concept to be more productive and, accomplish goals is showing how it operates in different fandoms and different tropes and different stories. And so it is in a way kind of nerve-wracking because it's sort of our first foray into a different lore, a whole different fandom, a whole different storyline. Yeah. And I think about, right. It's funny. So we were having a conversation and we were talking about this idea about a functional fandom. Yeah. Right. And then I don't remember where I saw it, but we were all having a conversation. I saw it in text form and someone said functionalizing fandom, like as if it was like a verb. I typed that out. Oh, you did? Okay, cool. So you said functionalizing, not a word, by the way. It's not. It is now. But in a functional way, we have functionalized the word functionalizing. Love it. But yeah, so I think a part of that particular goal of functionalizing fandoms is putting this idea into a language that other groups of fandoms can understand. Right. Yeah. If we live in this world of Astoria, which is incredible forever, we're only going to be able to appeal to a certain person who likes a medieval Lord of the Rings-esque type of thing. Dragons and castles and gold and all that stuff. Yeah. But, I think you're right. There's something noble about trying to, capture and show appreciation for and include all the fandoms that people know and love. But on the selfish side, we just get to create the next cool thing that we want to see. Of course. Maybe it's Miami Vice. It's probably not. Maybe it's something else. The point is, we decided to go into the wizard school realm. Yeah. The wizard school territory, which I know at the moment is in a little bit of hot water
due to She Who Will Not Be Named. But here's the deal. That fandom changed the lives of millions, truly. Maybe even the B word, maybe even billions of millennials and people that grew up on the books, Harry Potter. But it's not just Harry Potter.
Yeah, it doesn't live alone. That was the thing that I think that was the coolest part about going into this.
Yeah.
Is that you actually find these other, like, kind of coming of age magical stories. And it's interesting, right? I'm thinking of this right now, but like you have Little Wizard Academia.
Yeah, it's an anime.
But I also think of like in a way like a Yu-Gi-Oh or a Pokemon is like this kind of coming of age, like learning about a magical world, learning about all these crazy kind of things that the world, like in learning through like failures and mistakes.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like we did it through the lens of a wizard school, but it's very like telling the story of people learning from failures.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, Harry Potter has been so genre crushing in a way that like when you start to mention like, oh, there's like a wizard and he goes to school, it's like, oh, you're talking about Hogwarts. It's like, not necessarily. There was actually plenty of, examples of like animes and short stories, novels about like a wizard that goes to school and like learns something, J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter phenomenon just happened to take the world by storm. So it's kind of like a nice doormat to like that genre, but really what's happening underneath it on a story level, like you said, is like you have a normal person that goes to a magical place. They have to, at some point in the story overcome some challenges and then use their magical abilities that they've been learning to overcome, magical problem, and then to eventually overcome the internal problem they probably had before they got to the school in the first place. And now they're like a wizard, master of both worlds. Congratulations. Yeah. It's like, so we I think for a while, we were a little hesitant to jump into that territory, the trope of this territory, because there was so much, I don't want to say gatekeeping around it, but it's kind of like there's definitely some controversy baked into it. There's definitely some really intense fandom around this one. What do you think the reason that we decided on Wizard, and by the way, it's the Astoria Magic Academy. So it's not like we're just calling it Wizard School.
Yeah.
But, Astoria Magic Academy is the name of the journal. But anyway, why do you think we tried to take that shot?
I mean, we've done a couple like dry runs of some other shots as well. We've looked at stuff. I mean, even if you're around for Quarantine Quest, that was a little bit of us flexing the fringe parts of what we could do with the art, right? We had the rock star playing and like fighting a dragon, right? That was like super cool, but so we had played around with it. So I think obviously with Quarantine Quest, right, we made there was like a broom flying page to that, and that was really exciting. It was really great. It was really cool looking.
To the
And then also I think that there's something really important to be said about magic in our real lives. And I think that took precedent over some of the other tropes that we could have made. Like we could have made something that's kind of like a Western and it talks about like doing the right thing and being morally like driven and stuff like that. But I felt like this idea of, especially going back to the idea of like, we're functionalizing fandom, we're using this thing, we're captivating your imagination in order to help you improve your actual life. So the idea of reminding you that there is a level of realness to magic.
Yeah.
And how if you utilize that in your daily life, it can actually really change the entire forecast of your life.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've actually been thinking about this. I think the business case to be like cut and dry is that it's easier, for instance, to go from the Hobbit's story setting.
That was crazy.
Mic arm fell off the table. Anyway, it's easier to go from like a Lord of the Rings like world where you already have wizards and dragons and kind of the fantasy world, and then to move into a Harry Potter type scenario versus like going to Miami Vice or going to a Western from like, The Hobbit essentially. And I think that's like really important. Because the way that magic exists in like we'll say a Lord of the Rings inspired universe versus a Harry Potter universe is like magic is there to help you along your journey in Lord of the Rings, but like magic is is like the key and center thing in the Harry Potter universe. It's all about normal people experiencing magic for the first time. I think that that's why Harry Potter's so visceral. People are like, I'm a Hufflepuff. This is my like my Hogwarts crush. Like people are so like viscerally invested in this world because there's been such a focus on magic. Lord of the Rings is more like, let's explore the world and let's like check out the different cultures and visit like the different races and all that stuff and how it all fits together in like a long history. Harry Potter's just like, wouldn't it be cool if magic was a part of our world and only a few people knew about it, you know? And let's like take this normal boy or this orphan boy, we'll say, throw him into this scenario and just like, let's just watch the expressions on his face as he experiences this magical world, the good side and the evil side of it for like the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And then also like from like our mission standpoint, right? Like the Astoria world is getting out of your comfort zones, like, oh, the places you'll go and the people you'll meet, things like that, the places you'll see. Yeah. That's very much the overall theme of that particular thing. I think it was exciting for us to try to utilize these things that you learn in like a Harry Potter or a, because like that, I think you see someone like a Harry Potter or especially like a Ron Weasley, a lot like a Ron Weasley of like the failure and the like not being very good at magic or being like the Weasleys weren't very wealthy, so like they didn't have like a very nice wand or something like that. Like
yeah.
You see these kind of things that are really applicable to our lives.
Yeah.
That I think we really wanted to touch on.
Yeah. The way Harry Potter deals with magic and the way that the fandoms that have followed Harry Potter have kind of, I'll say, been groomed or conditioned to think about magic in that way is that like magic in that world and in this fandom, the one that we're, you know, kind of tapping into here, like they see magic as a means to transform reality as we know it. I think that that's why it's so like wondrous and like truly magical in a Harry Potter kind of a way. You don't really see that like same kind of shock and awe in like Lord of the Rings. It's kind of there, but it's a lot more rare. And I think that there's something allegorically important there that we can tap into because we've gotten tons of reviews and emails. I mean, I think we talked about one last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe at this point, but just like there is genuine life change going on around here. And I think that it's probably safe to say like our journal, like it kind of helps you look at reality in a different way. We're kind of playing with this, like we're playing within this realm of like, yeah, I have a goal, sure. But what if I reimagined it as a quest? That's like inherently interesting. And in a way, it does kind of change your reality a bit just by changing the wording around and using some imagination. Like it gives you the discipline or it gives you a new perspective that would help you on your goal. I think in the same way, like magic is just the like a way to transform reality as you know it. Where it's like you have a cauldron that you're, you know, making a stew in, but like it can also be a cauldron where you're making, I don't know, a potion in, or you sweep the floor with a broom. But like in this magical universe, you still use a broom, but you use it to fly. Reality is different now. I think there's something that we really enjoyed as we created the journal. We're just finishing it up now, but like love playing with that idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It's a good segue. I think there's some more technical things we want to talk about. And I think we want to chat about Magic Month a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk specs.
Yeah.
Like what's the real cool, just kind of on the surface things that are really exciting about this one. And then we can talk about what Magic Month is.
Yeah.
Even though I've already announced it at this point.
It's true,
but
hopefully.
So let's back up a little bit. So about 2 years ago, we launched a Kickstarter. This is actually our original prototype. And when I say original, I mean, we walked into FedEx with a Word document, walked up to the counter, asked them to format it and put it into a journal. It cost us tons of money to make this.
It cost us $100 to make 10 of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that specifically. It's like, ow, that hurts.
I know,
we weren't making any money at that point.
It was
like,
money.
yeah.
But
yeah.
I remember, we made this, and then shortly after we got like an actual prototype we were able to be a little more proud of. And take pictures and make a Kickstarter video. We launched on Kickstarter. We asked for $10,000, ended up raising $15,000, which was great. We actually broke even.
Yeah, that was actually like that was kind of one of those universe conspires moments. Because if we hadn't done 15, we would have gone out of business. Which is a weird thought, right?
We were just really new to it. But anyway, on a specs level, like this original version that's in our Kickstarter version had 5 different daily pages. 5. So 5 different settings. Then it had 5 reflection sections as well. It was even cut up into like chapters. There was no act breaks. It was very different than what we ended up with now. On a spec level, so just looking at that, the new Story of Magic Academy journal that we are launching here in February on Kickstarter will have, this is crazy, 90 different daily pages. 91 different daily pages. For those keeping track, our current journal, 3 months long, has 91 daily pages. The Story of Magic Academy will also have that. The main difference will be that every time you flip the page, every time you sit down and open the journal to write in your goal and you flip that page, there will be a new piece of art that there wasn't existing on the last page. Now, to be fair, it's not completely different. The idea was that we would have these sections that were about 7 days long. And don't worry, it's still undated. But like if you use your journal every day, you will ideally be changing, we'll say changing scenes every week with a reflection section in between them. Now, within these 7-day scenes, every day there's a little something different happening on the page. So like, for instance, you'll have someone like in the library and they'll walk in and you'll kind of get a feel for the setting. The next page will be them talking with some students or something. And then maybe they wander into the forbidden section. And then maybe they're like, what's going on in there? This is like day 5. They open the latch to the forbidden section and like some crazy, explosion happens in the library. And then by day 7, it's just like complete chaos. And then that's the end of that section. So there's kind of like these mini kind of microcosmic stories that are happening throughout the journal that kind of just, I think, will work to delight people while they're, on their way to achieving their goal. Gives you kind of another reason to sit down and open the page because it's exciting to see what the next art piece is going to be. Our current journal only has, I think, 9 or maybe 13.
Oh, it's 9. It's 9. Yeah. You do each page for 10 days.
Right. Yeah. So 10 page. So 10 days before each reflection, and it's the same page over and over again. But this time around, totally different. So we're shortening up the amount of time before each reflection, which in turn is more reflection questions, which we love. And then every single day is different art. So we put in a lot of work.
Yeah. And I mean, like that once I keep bringing it up because I think it's such an interesting idea, but it's like that functionalizing fandom, right?
Yeah.
You're following along a story that you intrinsically think is interesting, and it gives you a reason to open your journal every day. Say like, what happened in this story today? Yeah. And this is something we've talked about, and we don't even know how to like describe it, right? But it's this like, you could look at every page, you could buy one, look at every page, and it'd be like, oh yeah, right? Yeah. But there's like there's a unique satisfaction that comes out of using it and seeing this story progress as you're like living this story. Yeah. So you can skip to the end and see what happens. Like that's not going to make it fulfilling. Right. The only way to make this story truly fulfilling is to actually fill it out every day.
That's so interesting,
which
isn't
is
it?
Something I think we kind of fell into.
I know. I think we've talked about this a little bit, and you're right. I don't know if we quite really know how to express this, and this might be a little out of pocket, but like I think we kind of discovered a new form of like entertainment. Now we didn't reinvent animation. We're not Pixar or anything like that, but you're right. We designed this journal in a way that it can only truly be appreciated by using it. And the way that works out is that it's kind of like every flip of the page, you're looking for new details. You're looking for like small Easter eggs and little cameos and like different characters in the scene, like having different reactions to what's going on, or like little side stories, or like there's like mice throughout this entire story that are kind of always doing their own thing in the background. And you don't notice that, like you said, if you were just to buy it and flip through it and put it back on the shelf. You would kind of be delighted and like, oh, look at all this art. That's cool. But it's just kind of this thing where it's like, look closer. No, look closer. Like, and day after day, getting used to like spotting the differences. it's just kind of this really interesting medium that I think that we weren't really trying to accomplish, but we realized through beta testing and through looking at like all the prototypes we have, we were like, man, this is like a really interesting way to tell a story. And the only way to really enjoy it is like actually using it to really appreciate it. So I think, I hope that that'll translate well, but it is kind of an interesting thing that I think we stumbled upon without really trying to do it.
Yeah. And I think like it's I'm trying to think about the best way to say it. Like, I'm so thankful that we did the Kickstarter with 5 pages.
Yeah.
Like, knowing what I know now, I would never make a journal again with 5 unique pages, right? Because why would we?
Yeah.
But we didn't know that then. We thought 5, because 5 was 5 more than we had found, right? Like that's the exciting part about it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting how like you get feedback and there's like little maps that we can look at, see how we've grown across the country and see how many people are using these things. And we've genuinely had like real people ask us, hey, can we get some more of this art? Like, it's really great.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's my end goal. And like, we couldn't, honestly, like, to be frank, we couldn't afford it.
Yeah. I mean,
like, that's a lot of time.
We have one artist.
Yeah.
We have Ryan right now. You know, maybe one day we'll have more, but like, yeah, he's like a one-man show. It's slow. It's low and slow. And by the way, Ryan comes up with the majority of the story.
Yeah.
And the characters' names. I mean, him and I kind of go back and forth on how things should feel and how it should, like, you know, like some of the story beats and what parts and what elements we want to capture from different fandoms we watched. But like, it all comes from like one guy. And so it takes a lot of time. And you're right. It was really fun to be working secretly on the journal, you know, like for 4 or 5 months, and then be getting like reviews that were like, you know, 4 or 5 stars. Like, oh, I loved it. It was great. I just wish there was like more art. I wish that there was more of that like mystical side, a little more kind of like visceral feel, or that immersive feel is what I should say, of the journal. And I feel like we really captured that this time around before people were even asking for it, which makes me feel really good about it.
Yeah.
Like if someone was like, I want less art, this is like distracting on the page, and we were like, you know, going from 5 pages to 90 pages, I'd be a little nervous, but
yeah,
people seem to want it.
Yeah. It's an exciting move. I think that obviously we're holding ourselves in the future to a really high standard. It's a lot of storytelling. I think that was the part of it that was the most surprising, is that it's a ton of storytelling.
There's a lot,
right? Because you have all these, it's almost like, it's kind of like stand-up comedy in a sense, right? Like every page opens, you have to set the scene, you have to lay the framework, and then you have to like work your way through. You have to feel comfortable with the premise, and then you have to hit them with the punchline.
Like a set up conflict resolution.
Yeah.
For every 7 days, you have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to little side characters and their own little responses to it.
But each one has to progress, so it has to grow, right? So it's not 7. It's not like, I guess we have. There's not like it's not that way in every single one, but we probably have like 5 or 6 sub conflicts before we even get to like the major conflict.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, but they all have to grow in each other and make sense. They have to flow into each other.
Yeah.
And it's all this whole like
scales.
And remember, we don't use words.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah. There's no dialogue. Like we don't get any, you know, and actually it's funny because that was your call. I remember that. I think you were even in Arizona. Yeah. You were in Arizona.
We were both in Arizona.
No, I just remember being on the phone with you and Ryan. I think we're on a 3-way call. Long before Kickstarter. We were still developing this. And in my head, I had so much stuff that I was trying to shove into this first version of it. I was thinking of backstories and like histories and like, you know, like indexes of information, almost like we were like writing this epic novel. And you just hopped in as kind of like the not nerdy person. Oh, not as nerdy as I would say, as like me and Ryan.
Yeah, I definitely am that. Yeah, which is weird because I'm the numbers guy too, which is like traditionally more nerdy of like a thing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you're nerdy, but I guess like I think is somewhat because, you know, Ryan's doing the art, so he has to have a certain vision. I have like this vision from the get go, and you're trying to like keep the wheels from falling off. Like what did you say when we were early on?
I was just I remember it just thinking about like, well, if we try too hard to tell a story, are we getting in the way of someone telling a story about themselves?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't want to tell someone how they're supposed to feel or what's going to be happening in their life at a certain point. I just want to give them a reference to be like, yeah, like stories have ups and downs.
Right.
And using this framework as a reminder that you're a hero and that sometimes things don't go perfectly for every hero.
Yeah.
And you have to go up against obstacles and things like that.
Yeah, it's really well said. Yeah, and it's funny because as we've grown, a lot of things have changed, obviously. But I think that that is somewhat of like a pillar of the things that we try and build. It's like, as we were saying before, like we kind of stumbled upon this new way of telling a story. But part of that is like, this is a long form of storytelling. If it takes 3 months to tell a story,
right?
That's a long time. And what I mean to say is like emotions and days fluctuate like the weather, It's not like we get 2 hours of someone's concentrated time in a dark theater where we can like kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, but we can kind of like manipulate their emotions through music and dialogue and acting. It's like, no, we have 3 months to tell a story. And instead of trying to tell them how to feel, instead of trying to force them into like our narrative, like, oh, this should be your abyss. This should be your death. Here's your resurrection. Here's your return home. It's like, that doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. And especially the goals that we set are never that clean. So I think you made such a good call having the foresight early on to just be like, let's not try and police the way people should be feeling, like having certain benchmarks in their story or thinking that we are worth someone's attention. Like our story isn't interesting enough for someone to like pause their goal and like look at our lore and read like 10 paragraphs about it and be like, cool. Okay. Right. How does that fit into my, my goal? Like we just weren't there yet. It didn't make a lot of sense.
Which is ironic because now we're circling back and we're building the lore. The things.
Well, yeah. I mean, people have asked for it, but I don't think we'd agree on, we would always agree on this. Like we've never traded lore for like someone actually accomplishing a goal and making their life better. Like we would never be like, hey, I use this journal. It didn't really help me. We're like, yeah, but did you read the lore? Like how cool is that? It's like, that doesn't make us feel good. It only works when someone is charmed into like that self-discipline instead of feeling this like shameful drill sergeant, authoritarian, you didn't work hard enough. You didn't wake up early enough. You didn't eat enough vegetables. Or like this charming kind of like storytelling, like friend reminder that like good stories can like elate us and bring us into a place of enthusiasm about our own story.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the goal.
But it's interesting. I think like on top of all of that, we've also found that encouragement and a little bit of like brevity is also really important.
Yeah.
Right. So like in the newest iteration of the story journal, we went to the 9 pages, but we also introduced the letter from the mentor inside of the actual journal, which I actually really like. I like that there is a moment where there's 3 moments in the journal during it. And then I think you start with 1. So you have 4 letters, right? Just 3. Yeah. Cause the first one's a letter from Nick and Kyle.
Right. Yeah.
But I love that like you have like this friendly mentor figure who's like otherworldly kind of in a lot of ways, comes to you and says like some nice things and just it kind of inspires you, talks a little bit about the lore a tiny bit, but it's not like enough to make you feel like you're living someone else's templated story.
Yeah. Right.
And I think we do a decent job from what we've developed so far in the Story Magic Academy about just like trying to create a little bit of like lightness and excitement about what you're doing, but also like making sure that it's still like uniquely yours.
Yeah.
In that when you look at your I think of it like not trying to not be a Groupon, right? With a Groupon, you get a coupon to go to like a couple's like cooking class, or you like go make pottery and you have like a bowl and you're like, oh, I remember that one time I was guided through like making this bowl. Yeah. And it's like that bowl was made at like Bowl-O-Rama, and you think about the place that helped you make the bowl. I want someone to see our journal and think, oh, like I made that. Like that's about me. Right. It's not about the hero's journal. Like, oh, they helped me so much to do this thing. It's like, I did that thing using this tool. Yeah. Also, Bowl-O-Rama, come on. It sounds more like a bowling alley, but
it's our second venture. Yeah. It's actually what our Kickstarter is about. No, I'm just kidding.
Could you imagine the pivot?
Yeah. Well, people do that with art, right? Like in a weird way, people associate, I know I do this. I'm sure people have always done this for all of human history, but they associate certain songs or different movies with different periods of their life,
Yeah.
you know, and in a way, even though there was like a true artist, a director or whatever, and tons of talented people who worked on this and probably put millions of dollars into a movie and made it, and they're like, this is my piece of art. People still take it and they interpret it as like, oh, I went to see that movie with like my first girlfriend in middle school and we like made out in the theater. We held hands during that movie. Or like, I watched that movie right after some tragedy in my life and it made me feel better. Or like, what, you know, whatever it is. Like, it is funny how people bookmark these certain things. And I think to your point, it would be a dream of ours if when people look on their bookshelf and they see that, you know, logo or the emblem on the side, it's not like, oh, I, you know, it's not the same feeling of like, oh, I've seen that movie. It's a feeling of like, this signifies a time in my life. And I have 3 months of like personal content and reflection and thoughts about this, not the story, but just what was going on in my life at the time. That'd be such a big win for us. That's like I think the vision, like that'd be such a better world. If you had people with bookshelves full of like their personal story, good, bad, like everything in between, in a way for them to create their own story out of that, one that is heroic. I think that's just like, that's a way better reality to live in than like, oh, I bought that, it's on my shelf. You know, that doesn't make us feel good. You know?
Yeah, it's like, I could imagine, this is all speculation, but I could imagine that when Captain America is like sitting in his room and he's just like laying in bed, or he's just wearing like his I don't know, sweatpants and stuff. And he looks over and he sees his shield. He's like, he thinks of himself as a hero, right? Because how could you not, right? You're Captain America. You have the Captain America shield. It's a part of your unit. It's part of your uniform that you wear while you're being a hero. I like, that's what I hope, right? I hope it's like, I'm sitting here, I'm drinking my coffee or my tea. I look over at my bookshelf and I see that The Shining, maybe it's kind of like a little bit destroyed because you put it through the use, but like you see a little bit of the Shining sword still there, and you're like, you know what? Like, I'm heroic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like looking at your uniform. It's looking at your shield and your Captain America.
That's well said. Yeah. It's a cool thing.
It's this weird thing that I don't know if it's like you can't force that to happen, but you have to keep trying.
Yeah.
You have to kind of continue to it's like it's on us is to continue trying to make our product better, right? Making it more engaging, more exciting for more and more people. Because I think that on top of sales and being able to stay in business and keep the lights on, we have like a lot of lights now.
Yeah, we do.
On top of that, right, it's all about keeping people engaged and pushing forward the idea that like you are heroic. All of it comes to that end, right? If we go out of business tomorrow, we can still say that we know at least one person sees themselves as more heroic after beating us than before.
And that makes it worth it.
Yeah, and every day, right? Every day the goal is more until someone makes us turn our lights off because it's just too much light pollution.
Too many lights, yeah.
Until that day comes, like that's the ultimate goal, right? Is how many people see themselves as heroes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like we're looking for this result that we can't like control. Like, you know, you give someone a journal, that doesn't mean they're going to use it. It definitely doesn't mean that they're going to use it and feel like a hero and keep it for a long time. There's kind of a bit of asking the world for permission, and the world, you know, the market or whatever you want to call it, like people saying yes or no to you. And like all we can do is make the best, kindest, happiest, most positive experience for people as they use it. Because humans are naturally, you know, nostalgic. Like I have plenty of old journals. I have old artifacts from, you know, my childhood or from past like birthdays. I mean, you know, you name it. Humans are very nostalgic. And so you can't force people to be nostalgic about like
your thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you can make it easy to use and fun to use and simple enough that people will use it. And whether it changed their life or not, still just having that on the shelf, I think is important. But
yeah. And it goes back to the just cause thing.
Right.
I think of there are aspects of just causes that are, qualitative.
Yeah.
And I think if it was like we wanted to make 10,000 people feel like heroes,
Right.
it would be very hard to get out of bed for that particular goal because it's like, what does 10,000 mean? How do I know? How can I track
what
it?
defines a hero, right?
But it's like, if you're laying in bed and you're like, does this help someone think of themselves as a hero? And you're like, I can't even make myself feel like a hero right now. And focusing on that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's one or if it's a million or a billion or however many people it is, right? It's like, I actually am glad that being a hero and looking at yourself as the hero of your own life being one of our core tenets is like extremely important.
It's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. I do want to say something before we let it slip. I mean, I know. So let's just do a quick summary of all the upgraded specs, if you will.
Okay.
As if this is like an Apple presentation or something.
But there's more.
But wait. Yeah, I should get our turtlenecks on. Anyway, so like we were saying, so the journal that we currently have available comes in, the colors that it comes in. I guess we should announce the color quite yet, so I won't do that.
We haven't 100% confirmed the color, which is probably why. It's not because we're trying to be secret. It's just because we're still developing the product.
We don't want to promise that we know what we're doing quite yet. But the inside of the journal, instead of having 9 unique daily pages and I think 9 reflection sections, it will now have 90 different daily pages, and I believe it has 13 reflection opportunities. Some longer than others, some are really great. The act breaks have a thing called self-study, so more kind of introspective questions like that are less from the lore. The typical reflection questions, like the two questions that you get in between every scene break, are a little more lore driven, which I'm really excited about. And then something also that's really cool, instead of doing letters from the mentor this time around, we're doing a newspaper. So we're doing like these breaks that kind of expand the universe of the Astoria Magic Academy a little bit. They give you some cool insight into like what's going on in the world, and they kind of help to drive the story in a way that's not super on the nose, but it does kind of feel like a special, unique thing that this journal could accomplish that the original Astoria journal couldn't really do. We're going from 240 pages to 256, I believe. So you'll still have some free pages. This time around, we're doing like a yearbook in the back that has like the staff and the students. We have a school map that's also in the back that's kind of labeled. What else do we have in there that's brand new? Oh, we have
this really cool new end paper.
That's right. Yeah. The end paper. So the end paper is the first thing you see like in a book or a journal, whatever it is. When you open that first cover, the thing it's kind of on the back of the cover and then it spreads across to the first page. It's usually the same thing on like the front of a book and the back of a book. You'll see like it's like a thicker end paper.
Yeah. It's super cool. I mean, you can't really describe it right now because it's literally a print, but it's just really cool.
Yeah, in our original journal, it was like it's a map of Astoria, so it's like a fantasy novel kind of feeling. But this time around, we want to do something almost like a textbook, or like almost. So we did like a print, and hopefully it looks cool. We don't have a prototype yet. We're excited about it. And then all the intro content, all the bones are still the same. There's obviously brand new art to kind of support it. We reintroduced the fields for like fear setting or cost of inaction rather. So there's a little more intro content, a little beefier that we're excited about. And then at the end, we have kind of our first swing at like outro content, if you will.
I actually want to leave this as like a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
But because our goal is to make people feel more heroic. One of our other goals, a subsequent goal, would be how do we help people finish their quest? How do you finish your goal?
Yeah.
So we're trying out some finishing objectives and some outro content, maybe some incentives, right? It's like kind of get a little reward, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we don't want to I know that the word gamify is so overused. I don't think we're trying to gamify it as much. I just think our initial thought was like, why is it that every single journal is so front heavy? It's like every journal is so that they help you start the journal, but they never really encourage you to finish the journal. And I think we wanted to try and be the first journal that we knew of that encouraged you to finish it, because a story that has a really good beginning but no end is a tragedy. So we realized The beginning of the story is just as important as the end of the story. We wanted their journal to reflect that. So I won't give away details to respect Kyle's wishes, but we are really excited about kind of it's nothing huge, nothing crazy, but we just wanted to have a cool emphasis on something that would delight, heroes as they finish up their time, the Astoria Magic Academy.
Yeah, and it's like, and obviously the whole academic side of it makes for like a really fun. There's a lot of different things. Like that's the one thing I've always thought was interesting about like when you're a senior in high school, there's like 90 things that you do. Like you have like your mama me tea, and you have like the parent breakfast, and you have the parent dinner, and then you have it's like all of these things happen, which allow for a lot of really cool like opportunities for us.
It's true.
It's kind of baked into education.
Yeah. So for those who maybe missed the announcement but listen to the podcast, we are releasing this new journal. Obviously, we're doing it on a platform called Kickstarter. So Kickstarter has been around for a while. It's called a crowdfunding platform. And the way that Kickstarter works, kind of the infamous detail about it, is that if you don't get 100%, at a minimum, 100% of what you ask for as your funding goal, then you actually don't get to collect any money. So we would really appreciate some pledges. When the time comes, this entire month will be dedicated on our end to making tons of content, telling you more about the journal and really celebrating magic for us and what it means to our team and all these different tropes that we love. But at the end of it, all of it will culminate in this Kickstarter that we are hoping does really well, because we want to disperse this journal and this new version of it into the world. Not this one. I kept pointing to it, but
very different. That's actually super different than that one.
Yeah,
it's the most different.
Yeah. We are doing a Kickstarter, and the way Kickstarter works, it's kind of like a pre-order in a way, like on an audience side. But yeah, like in a very real way, you guys help us like fundraise to make this product. And it's cool because you guys get to be a part of the process of making it and going into it. You can see that the amount of money we actually raise by the end of it. And so it's a very, like active kind of relationship between like us and you guys. It's not like a pre-order where we're like, hey, buy our thing. It's more like, hey, help us do this project together. And that's what we really hope it is. So yeah.
And it's like normally when we do a pre-order, we have everything already like ordered and made and done. Right. Things are still being completed.
Yeah.
Because the thing about a Kickstarter is that we are kind of allowing you guys in a way to decide if like this is something you want.
Yeah.
Because if we don't get funded, like we can't make it. It's like we're trying a new thing. We're trying a new product. We're trying a new like kind of different spin on the same thing we've done. We're confident in the sense that it's going to be great and everyone's going to love it. But there is like you guys are helping us. You're giving us the feedback, and we're trying to respond to that feedback and make our product better and better. So
yeah, and there's a real world where it might not get funded, which we try not to talk about. I think 60% of Kickstarters do not get funded.
Yeah.
So
the fact that we did one in general is pretty exciting, because I was like,
yeah, but you forget, but it's a scary thing. You can definitely not do well.
It's terrifying. I'm just glad. So I think one of the things I want to like end on is just like this growth. This idea of like, I was in the bathroom at my corporate job. You stayed home. You called in sick on your day.
Yeah.
And
the day that we launched our first Kickstarter.
Yeah. And we were just like, we made like $500 in the first hour or something like that.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God.
Couldn't believe it.
We're full time now. This is our job. Our job is to run a Kickstarter. And there are countless people on the internet that say like, the only way to really be great at Kickstarter is to be doing it full time and having a team full time. Like, we have a dedicated team.
I know, it's pretty.
2 years later,
pretty crazy to think about that. Yeah.
We thought about doing like the agency thing to help kind of grow it, and we decided, we're gonna keep it all in house. We're gonna bet on ourselves. We're gonna double down on the team we've built, and we're gonna kind of show you all like everything that happens.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
We're trying to be transparent with you guys. One of the most important things about any Kickstarter, if you guys ever want to launch one, you have to have like a cool ramp up into your Kickstarter. You can't just press go and then start talking about it. You have to be talking about it for a long time and then go into it with all that momentum. So I kind of mentioned this, but one thing that we should end on talking about is just Magic Month. So it's probably already been announced somewhere else, but for the next 4 weeks or so on this podcast and anywhere in our other content, like Letter from the Mentor or the Talking Head videos we do, we're going to be making some other really exciting video projects here and there as well. We will be trying to celebrate our love for magic and all things related to magical storytelling and tropes and wizards and wizard schools and you name it. I'm really, really excited about it.
On top of that, there's actually a PDF you can download.
Yeah.
And I'm sure will be in the description of this video. It'll be in a place that's very accessible.
Right.
Where you can do daily like side quests alongside us.
Yeah. Quick note. So in June, when the pandemic was a little newer and when the whole nation and the whole world really was told to kind of quarantine, we got really creative and we thought about a way to help people through that time, a very isolated time, really difficult time for a lot of people. And we ended up deciding to do a thing called Quarantine Quest, which was kind of a month-long interactive thing where we gave free daily pages to people that had these side quests already written as the quest for the day. So really simple things like, make your bed or clean a room in your house, or even like, take a picture of your favorite mug and post it in the Heroes Quarters, just to help people get social and interact with like strangers on the internet as like a means to defeat isolation, to keep people's houses clean and to make them feel like a hero, even if that's all they did that day. And we are bringing it back. It's just not called Quarantine Quest anymore. It's called Magic Month. And the PDF is totally free. Just because you partake in the PDF doesn't mean you have to give any money to our Kickstarter. It's something that we are glad to do for free. If you want to do it with friends or maybe with kids or parents or whatever, it's, totally shareable. You can share it with whoever you want. So
yeah. And if you have no interest in supporting Kickstarter, it's totally fine. The thing about Magic Month that we're excited about is that we're like, you get to look at the magic in your normal life. And then also it's like goals and quests are a lot of times really hard to start.
Yeah.
So we kind of think about it as like, maybe some of you have already seen our Kickstart quest. We kind of think about it as like a really focused, community-oriented Kickstart quest. So if you have a goal you're trying to accomplish and you're just having a hard time, maybe like dusting some of the rust off at the beginning, this is a really awesome opportunity to just like reinvigorate that goal, that mission, that quest, whatever you want to call it, and do it with some people and have a really good time.
Yeah, we're super excited about it, and rumor has it that there might be some giveaways here and there.
Say what?
Yeah, along the month. I'm not going to say more than that, but we're really excited about it. So make sure and sign up for Magic Month. I'm sure by this time we'll have a link you can download in the description to get signed up. And most of those challenges, most of that interaction, engagement with other heroes will take place in the Heroes Quarters, which is our private Facebook group. Has over 10,000 members in it. Super active, incredibly positive place. We have like moderators and we take a lot of care of that group. It's kind of like our virtual tavern where we all hang out and share quests and what's working, what's not, and all that stuff. So it's a really good place. And for the whole, for this whole next 30 days, it's just going to be full of like inspired, excited, magical heroes that can't wait for the Kickstarter. So.
Yeah. And if you're wondering, how do I find the Heroes Quarters? Probably also in the description.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty
you just go to Facebook and search the Heroes Quarters. Heroes is spelled the same way as the Heroes Journal. So
yeah. We're gonna try to link as many things as we can. But
there's a lot of plugs at the end of this.
A lot of plugs. Well, to finish off with the final plug, this is one that you were all ready for. Thank you so much for watching or listening on a podcast. If you haven't already, we would love it if you subscribe to our channel. We post videos talking about fandoms and different ways to functionalize them and to be more productive towards your goals, as well as to be kind to yourself. We obviously have the podcast here on YouTube, as well as on Spotify and I think Apple Podcasts now. Maybe at this point. Pending. We've been pending for a while. And then also we're going to do some fun video stuff as it relates specifically to the Kickstarter. So if you want to see those, subscribe. We'd love it if you liked this podcast here on YouTube. And I guess we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, guys.